Welcome to Biztech SME Show, where we feature SMEs around the region and how they build and run their businesses. Today's SME Show, we feature Web Bytes out of Malaysia. And here to tell us more is Boon Sheng, the CEO of Web Bytes. Welcome to the show, Boon Sheng.
Thanks, Brian.
Now, Boon Sheng, before we start, give us an overview of Web Bytes and what you do.
Web Bytes is actually a technology company focusing on retail management solutions. So we build solutions, point of sales, everything that touches the front end of any retail and F&B. We supply the tech to manage their day-to-day operation from finance to customers. And usually our customers are chain stores. You know, when they look for growth, they look for us.
Okay, so you started out this business almost 15 years ago or so. Pretty much out of university. Tell us about that journey to building Web Bytes.
Of course, on my side, I have a very unique opportunity where I learned programming when I'm very young, even before I entered universities. So when I actually entered the universities, I actually find that I want to do some sidekick businesses. Though that is where I start, writing solutions for retailers. Though that is where I get my first-hand experience. And the only problem at that point of time is that a lot of these solutions are offline. And I do a lot of run around to actually supply and then support them, And from that perspective, 15 years back, I always have these ideas that business solutions should go online. It should be something that is subscription basis. So that is where it actually started. So we were actually the first one subscription-based retail management solution in the region. I mean, in fact, in Malaysia, the word cloud POS is actually trademarked by us as well. We started the whole subscription model 15 years ago. That is before iCloud, before the other subscription stuff. So, yeah.
So you're well ahead of the game. So you say you focus on the retail sector and chain stores and stuff. Give us an idea of some of your customers and what are the solutions that you provide them?
We basically handles all the retailers. So I mean, in this region in Malaysia, you probably have deal with brands like Mary Brown, Texas Chicken, Tea Life, which with over 700 stores. Then in the retail scenes, you probably have brands like Cecily's. All these retailers, they are actually they have to go very fast in terms of how they want to either you use the word dominate the market or probably expand their market coverage. So in order for them to achieve that, they need a solution that is highly scalable. So Web Bytes, our solutions, Zilnex solutions are actually being used by chain stores like this. And of course, lately, we have also deployed our solution in all the Malaysian international airports. So if you are buying chocolate, if you are buying any alcohol stuff, duty-free stuff in Malaysia, it has to go through our system.
Okay, so what is your competitive advantage compared to your not only domestic competitors, but also competitors out of the US, for example?
A lot of people think that solutions like point of sales is always about just a cash till itself, helping to manage better. But to us, that is a whole subset. It is actually a subset of the whole visibility. So in the whole Zilnex ecosystem, we are not looking at just helping business to manage better. We wanted to grow their business. So we have a lot of solutions, a lot of functionality in the solutions that actually help them to re-engage their customers, to really understand their customers. Imagine a box of solutions that comes with analytics, that comes with helping the business to grow, helping them to make better decisions, all from the point of sales as the core of the data. So it's not just a cash till solutions.
Okay, so Boon Sheng, you're exposed obviously to the retail and F&B sector. That's the bulk of your business.
Yep.
The pandemic would have hurt you quite a lot.
Yes.
How did it impact you?
I think the major issues is because we are on a pay-per-use basis. So we always joke with pre-pandemic, we always joke with our partners, we always joke with our investors, telling them that Web Bytes Stillnet solution is very powerful. Very strong and fundamentally strong because there is no any way that there will be all the retailer shut down at one go. All right. But during the pandemic, that is like a slap on the face. Okay, it really happens, you know. So yeah, it definitely impacted us a lot in terms of numbers, because during the lockdown, there are two major lockdowns. One in the first year and the second year of the pandemic, and during the lockdown, we have a lot of compensations in terms of we don't charge our customers, but we still have to pay for our service costs. We still have our man-hour costs. So we basically burned a lot of money during the pandemic. But of course, to us, it's fair, because we need to go through this with our merchant, all right? Because if our merchant and our customer cannot survive, we can't survive either. So we have to make sure they can survive. So we actually wanted to go through this with them.
Okay, fantastic. And obviously, I'm sure that customer loyalty will be repaid in terms of as they start to expand.
Hopefully. Hopefully, yes.
Now, Boon Sheng, we're coming out of the pandemic, what are some key trends that you see in your space and also in the retail and F&B space?
The things about in retail and F&Bs, right? I always tell our customers, you guys are from the 90s, right? The only important things in this industry is only three things I always joke with them. Is location, location, and location. It used to be only location, you find the best location in town, the best people coming on board, you can engage your customer because it's all about location. But during the pandemic, things change. And now they start to understand that they can no longer rely on location. Location is only a subset of the engagement process with customers. So you have to start looking into the CRM. You have to start looking into how you handle customer engagement platform. You have to understand who are they, why are they buying, how do you maximize value for yourself, how do you maximize value for your clients, and serve them at their convenience. So to that, it actually opened up a lot of opportunity for us as well, because now the point of sales industry doesn't lock down on just pure physical location.
Yes, because one of the key things, also key trends in the F&B industry is the move towards ghost kitchens. Yes. How has that impacted you, or how do you see that impacting you?
It will definitely continue to drive. I will not say that it actually, it's actually impacting us in a very positive way, because now it actually gives our solution open up. Because in the whole POS solution, we have a components, we call it live order, where it's actually an enabler that you can actually do 45 minutes delivery. If you're operating a kitchen, you can actually integrate with all the delivery partners, get your food delivered 45 minutes without having to actually handle your own fleet, and you don't have to pay the hefty the other platform providers commissions. Yes, you have to do that. So it's an add-on to our solution. So we actually start to build all this kind of add-on during the pandemic, and it's actually getting a very good traction as we speak. So I would say that it actually impacted us positively. And customers now appreciate, if it's 2 years before during the pandemic, tell them that you need to have online to offline, or you need to start understanding your customer, they probably don't actually put that as their priority. But after the pandemic, now they understand they need to.
Okay, so Boon Sheng, you've obviously done really, really well in Malaysia. Your product is very mature. Tell us about your expansion in ASEAN. What does your footprint look like? And tell us about your recent acquisition of a Cambodian reseller.
We actually have, we have customers in almost all the ASEAN countries. All right. So we have our customers there, but having for us to really expand, because at our size, we can't be, throwing up offices and then putting our salespeople there, investing and burning money in every single country in ASEAN. So what we do is that we actually do, some are via JV and some are via distributors, which is we call a dealer. So Cambodia is a very unique market for us, because it's like the first country that we went in on the dealership model. And it has been set up, the company has been set up to actually sell our solution only. But throughout the years after we have been running it, we find that, hey, it's better for us to start doing consolidation so that we can actually do more for the customers there. And that actually happens. We also have a very good partners there, which also thinks similar. We are like-minded. It makes sense that for us to join forces together instead of us just treating them as a dealership. So this model works perfectly well in Cambodia for now. And for the other country, we are actually still eyeing for a stronger JV. Like for example, Vietnam, we have a JV. In Bangkok, we have JV as well. So in Jakarta, we have a guy supporting our current customers. And we are still looking into partners to actually further expand instead of just serving some existing customers that we have there.
Now, Boon Sheng, I want to zoom in on your funding journey, because obviously this growth that you've experienced hasn't come without funding. Now, you've received grants from the likes of Cradle Fund and Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation. You also received venture capital funds in 2013 from T Capital, which took a 30% stake. Walk us through your funding journey as how you funded your business out of university up to today.
The thing here is that I think we started the business very naively. I have no MBA. I'm a software engineer, a trained software engineer, I will say. So what happened is that, when we first started the business, we started with some of our pocket money, of course. Then we took the MDEC grant. It's a pre-seed grant. It's one of the earliest grant in the tech ecosystem. They give you 150,000 to actually start your business and run the business, build prototype. So to us, we spend the 150,000 and there's no customers. All right, so that is the tough know-how, that we actually learned throughout the way. Okay, now we have no customers and we have finished off 150,000. How do I survive, right?
At that time, there's no such thing as product market fit.
No. So that is actually a very hard truth, that we have to learn. But of course, we doesn't want to give up that easily. So what happened during that time is that because with the skill set that we have, so me and some of my partners, we do some side projects for some factories in Penang, where we make some income there, where we continue generating a little bit of money for the company just to make sure it survives. And then we come up with our version 1, version 2, when we actually start getting some customers. That is where the Cradle commercialization fund comes in. So it's a pivotal point. So when Cradle commercial funds comes in, then now we are in a better position.
And how much was that?
It's a half a million.
Okay, $500,000 Malaysian ringgit. Yeah,
$500,000 Malaysian ringgit. So we use that to actually really commercialize and to get tractions, and because we are all self-funded, and because at that point of time we know that although these grants coming in, we have to trade every single dollar like our own money. So which is good because we learned the hard way, and by the end of the funding period, we are already breaking even, which means that the company can already self-sustain and we can actually grow organically. And because of that, we start to look at VC funds and stuff. And when VCs comes over, you say, okay, the whole mindset changed, So if I can get more money, I doesn't need to grow organically. The money that I can pump in is probably money that I need to make for the next 5 years. If I can raise a VC round, it probably speed up the 5 years. So that is where we take in our first investment from Take Capital.
Okay, and that was 30% stake for what sort of amount of investment?
1.2 million. Yeah.
1.2 million.
That's correct.
And then after that, this stake was bought out by GDEX in 2016. And if I recall correctly, it's because obviously T Capital wanted to exit, not because you are not a good business, but because their fund was coming to an end.
Yes, that's correct. So they make sound returns. And of course, GDEX look at us because e-commerce is booming at that time, and there's a lot of items that we can actually leverage on each other, especially they are on logistics, and we can actually supply our retail client and vice versa services to each other.
So they found it very synergistic then to invest in it. So what did you see in them? That was the same thing as well. They also give you access to customers beyond the money?
That's correct. And because GDEX has been serving not just the big MNCs and stuff, they also serve huge numbers of SMEs, which is definitely a market segment that we are actually eyeing on.
Okay. Now, coming back to 2021, what sort of turnover and profits did you do last year?
We don't do a lot of profit last year. In fact, we just made $500,000 ringgit from profit. But in terms of revenue, we hit about 18 million.
18 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are your expansion plans like for 2022-23?
We will continue to grow, as this year is 2022 is very exciting years where we actually start rolling out a lot of services that I mentioned earlier, like how we actually do customer engagement. Apart from the POS, we actually envisions the POS and online to continue their convergence. And there's a lot of solutions that we are rolling out. We are getting a lot more enterprise traction as we speak. We're getting more contract. For the past 3 months, we've been hitting our sales target. And people nowadays, they really understand that you have to keep up with the solutions. You have to keep up with software. It's not because of whether the business needs it or not. It's the whole industry needs it. If you don't have it, you probably will lose it in all segments.
Now, what sort of targets do you have for this year? What's the revenue target for this year?
We actually wanted to hit 22 million. All right. For the past 3 years, we have been very lucky to hit a 25% compounded annual growth annually every year. And this year we are looking at 22 million.
So Boon Sheng, obviously, 25% annual growth is a good performance by any standard. So what's next for you? What's the exit strategy?
To be honest, we have no immediate exit strategy for now. Our eye is to actually to work on an IPO. So
and what sort of timeline is that?
2 years for us. We are looking at 2 years. Revenue target at 30 over million.
And where do you see yourself floating the business?
Of course, we are being in Malaysia. We actually put our target as Malaysia. We want to make sure we are actually good enough to be here first before we actually eye somewhere else. But for now, the immediate one is still actually in Malaysia.
Boon Sheng, you've been an entrepreneur for about 15 years. What are some of the key lessons you've learned in your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say is that we have been seeing a lot of success story out there, all these unicorns and stuff. But to me, my first know-how, of course, as my experience is that we sometimes doesn't need to follow what they do. All right, profit is important. So a lot of time, Ms. Chok from Tech taught me, Mr. Tiong, GDEX taught me as well. But they are very, very down-to-earth people. To them, they always tell us you do not have to be like Grab, burning money. So you want to be a unicorn. Of course, if you can do that, it's good. But for a lot of SME market, the market is so big that if you actually do it one step at a time, it's perfectly fine. All right, it's nothing wrong with that. The important part is that how you actually make sure that the profit is there, how you actually knows your numbers, and you have to know what you can do and not running too fast or run too slow.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that are related to your journey in the 15 years.
Yeah.
What are 3 things that you probably have done right to get to this stage? You're doing 25% annual compounded growth. So you're obviously doing some things right. What are the things you think you have done right?
People. I think the most important part is our people. We have, I will say, in terms of industry standards, our turnover are actually a lot lesser. We have 120. We have about 150 people now, and our turnover are actually, I will say, very manageable as compared to our peers, where I see people are moving around. I think the most important part is that I do believe if you need to treat your people well, and then they will treat your customer well, and the customer will treat you well. I think that is a cliche, but it is very, very true. So to me, I always tell my people, I am a very bad CEO for stakeholders, for shareholders, because my mentality is that I want to make sure my people can be very well taken care of first. And that really paid off because these are the people that drive the company today, and these are the people that are bringing us all around the place.
Okay, anything else beyond people?
Financial literacy. I will think that I learned the hard way. I will say that I learned the hard way, and this I have to give a lot of credit to Cradle, because I am actually a CGP alumni as well, right? And I really learned about financial when I was admitted into the CGP program.
So I'm also an alumni of Coach and Grow program. That's a great program.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I would think that people like us last time we just talk about revenue, we talk about just about revenue, growing the numbers, and we don't really care what is happening at the bottom line and stuff. We don't really understand how financial. I don't even know how to read a balance sheet, and we just look at the numbers and we throw all this to the accountants, and every 1 month they'll come in and look at, okay, I'm making profit, okay, I'm making profit, and next month, and it just continues. But that doesn't work, as an entrepreneur. Being able to read financial statements is very, very crucial, especially if you are from a tech background like me, right? Which you have I have no pure experience in finance, and this CGP actually gives us a very good opportunity to actually enhance entrepreneurs like us to be actually all-rounded. So that is why I think joining a program like CGP gives us a very, very strong edge to actually continue learning. That actually changed a lot in terms of our business as well. And of course, last one, if I were to add, is to get a good VCs and the corporate associate partners. So people like GDEX, public listed, Take Capital, Ms. Chok, they are very, very strong in corporate management. So having them coming on board actually make sure our accounting standards, make sure all the policies that we have in place, things that we always thought that we can take it for granted, are things that probably will come and hunt you a couple of years down the road. So during the investment comes in, I think Ms. Chok took a lot of time with us to make sure that all our documentations, our internal paperwork, our policy, HR policy and stuff are being up to the standard. So I think getting someone that actually be able to come in not just with money, but able to actually come in with corporate expertise and advisors is very, very crucial.
Now, what are 3 things, Boon Sheng, you would have done differently?
If you ask me, I would think that I do not move fast enough sometimes, because I have a lot of hesitation sometimes, like for example, what to do and what not to do. Right. So I would say it's a double-edged sword, being a more conservative entrepreneur myself. The downside is that sometimes you think too much, whether you want to do that more or that probably holding me quite a bit. Yeah. If I were to restart Web Bytes, I would probably be able to do this in 5 years, I would say, okay, instead of 15 years. Yeah. So I would think speed is something that I'm learning, and of course, delegation.
Delegation, and that's an interesting one as well. Yes, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that problem. We want to be in control. Yeah,
and I used to be handling all our enterprise customer myself, because I always think that our customer need me seeing my face, right? The confidence is on my face. So I start building confidence on my face, which eventually it backfires as well. Because if customer doesn't see you, they lost confidence. But how do you scale that way, right? Yeah. So then you have to coming in, how you really delegate, how you really build brand power. You build your people will be able to do things without you. That is very, very important. It definitely takes a lot of time, a lot of efforts to do that from all segments, whether it's from sales, it's from engineering, from internal process. It takes a lot of efforts for you really to let go.
And anything else to add? So it's delegation was one thing, not moving fast enough was another lesson you would have done differently. But is there anything else that you would have done a little differently?
Yeah, I mean, out of a nutshell, that would be the 2 of the most immediate things that I have in mind for now. Yes. Okay. I probably bet that is a lot, but yeah, that is something that is on top of my mind as we speak. Yeah.
So Boon Sheng, then it's been a fascinating conversation, but before we leave, do you have any final words or thoughts that you'd like to share with us before we end the conversation?
Yeah, I think it depends on who the audience is, like you mentioned. So if it's for entrepreneurs like us, I think now is the best time to grow the business. There's a lot of opportunities in the market now. People start enlightened due to the pandemic. Those people that doesn't appreciate technology will appreciate. Those that used to appreciate technology will be like even more appreciate about technology. So technological play is a must, So it's something that it happens all around in all segments. So if you are actually in a technological play, whether you are a user or you are a solution provider, I will say we are actually in a golden era. It just started, and this is the best time to be in it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Boon Sheng, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you so much, Brian. Love talking to you.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been speaking to Boon Sheng, the CEO of Web Bytes, on Biztech SME Show. This video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.